That's the haunting message posted to Facebook on June 14, 2015, one that would unravel one of the most shocking stories of abuse and murder in modern American history. At first, friends and neighbors feared the worst. But no one could have imagined the truth hiding behind the closed doors of a tiny pink house in Springfield, Missouri. A young girl in a wheelchair, battling cancer, muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, and countless other conditions, raised by a devoted single mother. That was the image presented to the world. But it was a lie, a carefully constructed illusion hiding unspeakable torment. This is the story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, a child abused under the guise of love, manipulated under the shadow of Munchausen by proxy, and ultimately driven to a desperate and deadly act. This is the story of a mother who faked illness for sympathy, and a daughter who planned her murder for freedom. Welcome back to True Crime Hub. Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard was a single mother who appeared to be a tireless caregiver. Her daughter, Gypsy Rose, was wheelchair-bound, frail, and suffering from what seemed like a litany of severe medical issues. Dee Dee claimed Gypsy had leukemia, muscular dystrophy, vision and hearing impairments, seizures, even a mental capacity far below her actual age. They became darlings of charities, receiving free trips, a house from Habitat for Humanity, and donations from people touched by their story. The community rallied around them, moved by Dee Dee's devotion and Gypsy's courage. But behind the smiles and support lay a horrifying secret. Dee Dee wasn't a caregiver. She was a captor. Dee Dee suffered from Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a mental disorder in which a caregiver fabricates or induces illness in another person, typically their child, to gain sympathy or attention. She shaved Gypsy's head, convinced doctors she had ailments she didn't, and subjected her to countless unnecessary treatments, feeding tubes, medications, even surgeries. Medical records showed Gypsy had no real muscle disease. Her hair only fell out because of shaving, not chemotherapy. But Dee Dee was skilled at manipulating doctors, moving frequently, and lying about lost medical records after Hurricane Katrina. Gypsy was kept in a childlike state, told she was younger than she was, forbidden from attending school, isolated from others, and dependent on her mother for everything. To the outside world, Dee Dee was a saint. To Gypsy, she was a warden. As she grew older, Gypsy began to suspect the truth. She knew she could walk. She questioned her medications. But she was too terrified to defy her mother, who threatened and manipulated her at every turn. In secret, Gypsy began exploring the internet, connecting with people, and eventually creating a secret online relationship with Godejohn, a man with a troubled past and a deep obsession with Gypsy. To Gypsy, Nick was not just a boyfriend. He was her escape. What began as a fantasy soon spiraled into a deadly plan. On the night of June 10, 2015, Nick Godejohn traveled to Springfield. While Dee Dee slept, he entered the house, with Gypsy hiding in the bathroom, covering her ears. He stabbed Dee Dee 17 times. The murder wasn't silent. It was brutal. But to Gypsy, it felt like the only way out. Afterward, the pair fled to Nick's home in Wisconsin. Meanwhile, Gypsy, perhaps out of guilt or confusion, posted that chilling Facebook status from Dee Dee's account. That B*** is dead. Asterisk. The authorities tracked them down quickly, and what followed stunned everyone. Gypsy could walk. She had never been sick. The entire story was a lie, and the truth more horrifying than anyone had imagined. Both Gypsy and Nick were charged with murder. But as the details emerged, public sympathy swayed. Gypsy, once seen as a cold-blooded killer, was now viewed by many as a victim, a girl manipulated and tortured her entire life. She took a plea deal, 10 years for second-degree murder. Nick, however, was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. His defense argued that his autism and Gypsy's manipulation played roles, but the court saw him as the main perpetrator. The case sparked a national conversation. Was Gypsy a murderer or a survivor? Did she deserve prison or protection? Was Dee Dee mentally ill or evil? In 2019, Hulu released The Act, a dramatized retelling of the case starring Patricia Arquette as Dee Dee and Joey King as Gypsy. The series brought new attention to the case, painting a haunting portrait of the abuse and emotional manipulation Gypsy endured. Though dramatized, it highlighted the psychological scars inflicted on a child trapped in a fabricated world of illness and dependence. Gypsy herself later said she was uncomfortable with how her story was portrayed, but acknowledged that it brought awareness to Munchausen by proxy, a rare and deeply disturbing disorder that thrives in secrecy. In December 2023, Gypsy Rose Blanchard was released from prison after serving 8.5 years. She emerged to a whirlwind of media attention, interviews, and a divided public. Some hailed her as a survivor and advocate. Others questioned her motives and past. In interviews, Gypsy expressed regret for the murder, but not for gaining her freedom. She stated, "I wish there had been another way. But I was a child. I didn't know how to escape." She has since written a book, reconnected with estranged family members, and expressed hope to live a normal life. But what is normal after surviving something like this? The story of Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee Blanchard is not one of simple villains or heroes. It's a cautionary tale about unchecked psychological disorders, about the failures of a system that overlooked countless red flags, and about the devastating lengths someone will go to for freedom. It challenges us to ask difficult questions. When is a victim still responsible for their actions? How do we define abuse when the abuser wears the mask of love? And can someone who commits a terrible crime ever truly find peace? If this story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe to True Crime Hub. What are your thoughts on Gypsy's case? Was justice served, or was she punished for surviving? Let's discuss it in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and stay informed.